Hello there. Happy Saturday, although it's not. I was going to go down to Cleveland's to what they call a tabletop sale. It really wasn't anything to do with yarn or anything in particular, but they were selling like fabrics and different things, and I wasn't going with the intention of buying anything. I was just going for the social aspect of it, going down, meeting people. Maybe some of the knit club girls were going to be there, but oh my goodness, when I would have been getting ready to go, their heavens opened, and I don't mean a little pitter-patter. I actually thought that it sounded like somebody was having a shower in my room. You know, it was that loud. And then the thunder and the lightning started. And I think I've told you before, thunder and lightning is not my thing. My dad tried every which way possible when I was a little girl to not have me scared of thunder and lightning. You know, it's just God banging the clouds together, and the lightning was just him lighting a candle or something like that. And he used to sit me on the stairs. We lived in an old 2-up, 2-down house when I was small, and the back door opened and the stairs to the upstairs were just at the side, so you could actually sit on the bottom step and open the back door and look out onto, well, I won't call it a garden, it wasn't a garden, it was a backyard, a huge backyard. In fact, the local man who had coaches, or charabancs as we used to call them, that's from the French word I think, charabang. Anyway, these small coaches, a bit like a smaller version of your school buses if you're in America, if you can visualise it. A bit smaller than the Greyhound bus. So he used to park them on the back of it was a shared backyard. It wasn't our backyard. It was shared among 4 houses and the pub. Yeah, communal backyard. We had the old-fashioned outside toilets at one end and a big open space. My dad had made a little garden for my mum. She did want a few flowers, so he made a bit of not a raised bed, but it was, a few bricks high. And we used to plant, vainly usually, some little flowers in an attempt to make it more colourful, Mum used to hang her washing up because there was a washing pole. Because we used to dry all the washing outside. I mean, back in the day, there was no such thing as a tumble dryer. I mean, it was a great sort of, well, we actually got a washing machine. Oh yeah, it makes me laugh when people say how deprived they were from their childhood because they didn't have this, that and the other, But to be honest with you, I never felt deprived, no. We were all in the same boat. I think I've mentioned this before. I think you only feel deprived when you look around you and you see people with a lot more things than you have. That's when you think, yeah. We don't have that, we don't have that. But when all of your peers, your school friends, your children you play out with, are all in the same boat, when everybody on the street is in the same boat, we used to sort of rejoice for people if they'd saved up and got themselves a new sofa, new settee. Hey, and we'd all go and have a look at it, not with nastiness, not with, she's got a new sofa. It was like, oh, how lovely, how beautiful. Because we knew how hard people had saved up to get this sofa or this new table or whatever they'd bought that was new. In our case, it was a washing machine. It was a washing machine with a mangle thing at the top, a roller. Where you put the washing through. And the water ran back into the washing machine, so there's nothing wasted. You didn't waste your hot soapy water, it all went back into. I don't know quite how my mum managed to rinse things. Maybe we didn't. I was a child back then, so I didn't think about such mundane things about washing the washing powder out of your washing. I never thought about that. And I think I mentioned before, we used to have a massive big mangle outside that it was ours. I don't know where it came from. We must have inherited it from somewhere. And the neighbours used to tap on the back door and say, do you mind if we use the mangle for the sheets, And we said, no, go ahead, go ahead. So they'd bring the bucket and the bowl and the sheets and they'd mangle the sheets. And the next thing they'd be out on the line blowing. But I lived in a cotton mill town. And every now and again, the chimney would, what my mum would call sweel. I don't know where that word came from. Oh, no, the chimney's sweeling again. Which meant something was kind of on fire on it and it was belching black smoke out the top instead of bits were coming out. Like soot bits were coming out. And it always seemed to happen when my mum had her sheets out. So she used to get really, really cross about that. Oh, no, I'm going to have to wash them again because when soot bits stick to... My mum always liked her white sheets. And they were white, by the way, yeah. She would go mad because, of course, it would stick on this soot and you couldn't get it off. You couldn't bat it off because the sheet would be wet. If the sheet had dried, you stood a chance of, like, sort of brushing it off without it leaving a mark. But my mum was terribly particular. That was one thing she did pass on to me. That if there was a sooty mark on a sheet, it didn't matter where it was, it had to get washed again. You know, my dad would say, oh, it's at the edge, Lucy, it doesn't matter, it's at the edge, we'll tuck it under the bed. It won't be fine, it'll be fine, it's not in the middle. No. It had to go in the washing machine again. That is one thing I did inherit from my mum. You know, much as washing was hard for her to do, we had to strip off at night and things went in the washer. Or things went in the pile. Hand wash a lot of it. She used to be stood by the sink. We'd have one of those great big, I think they're called a Belfast sink now, but we just called them a sink back in the day. And they were big and you could bath a baby, which she often bathed me in it. Yeah, you could bath a baby in them. And she used to do the hand washing there. She'd hand wash like that and put it on the draining board, and then I presume she put it through the mangle because you had to be very careful if anything had a button on it because you had to fold it so the mangle didn't snap the button in half, yeah. Oh, those were the days. And then they say the good old days. But as I've said before, I was lucky enough to have a happy childhood because what I didn't have, I didn't miss, if you know what I'm saying, yeah. And my mum taught me how to knit. I knitted from the age of being about 5. I knitted, well, I won't say my first pair of mittens because she only gave me one ball. And back in the days, it was an ounce, which was 28 grams. So I proudly knitted this mitten and wanted the rest of the wool to make the other mitten. And she didn't have it. She'd just given me one ball because I suppose she thought I'd never make anything. Just humouring me. She'll never make mitten. She'll never make it. And I did. So we went off to the little wool shop, which was in Royton at the time. I think she was called Mrs. Cleary, if I remember rightly. Anybody in Royton will put me right. And we couldn't match this blue. It was like a sort of cornflower. We could not match this blue up. Nothing in the shop matched it. Nothing. So I was quite despondent about that. So that kind of put me off for a little while. Eventually she did buy me 2 balls of wool because she thought, I'll encourage her. It's getting near winter, she can make her own mittens. And I did. I'm not saying they were the best knitted mittens in the world because I did rib. Knit one, purl one, which is quite good for a 5-year-old. Knit one, purl one, rib at the bottom. But my mum had to do the thumb. I couldn't get the hang of doing the increases, you know, for the, well, they call it a gusset, don't they? The gusset of the thumb. I couldn't get the hang of that. So Mum had to do that. And of course I was knitting on 2 needles, so there was a seam down the side. Which I think Mum, if I remember right, I think Mum seamed it up for me. I think she did the top together for me at the top. But I did the majority of it. So that was the first thing I knitted, was a pair of mittens. After that I progressed to making things for my dollies. I had a teenage doll. Long before Barbie, Cindy. It was just a teenage doll. It was just a cheap, off the market, plastic teenage doll. And it was bigger than Barbie or Cindy. It was probably about so high, yeah. And I used to make all sorts of things for that. My aunt used to let me use her sewing machine. I know, oh no, health and safety. Oh, letting a 5-6-year-old use a sewing machine. I sewed my finger to it once, finger, you know, then you look right through the nail. You don't do it again. But yes, I used to sew. She was a tailoress, I think I mentioned before, so she had always got bits of fabric floating about. Tiny little bits of fabric that were no use to man the beast. And I used to, you know, concoct little straight skirts and what have you got, shorts and things for my little dolly. I always wanted to be a fashion designer. Always did. I always thought I would be one. As a child, you don't know the ins and the outs, you know. And I think I mentioned on a previous video that I wanted to go to art school, but I realised quite early on that I didn't have the talent for drawing or anything. And I think this is where it comes from, that I like to design my own outfits, yeah. Talking about outfits, what am I wearing today? It is a paid for pattern. It's called Granny Takes a Trip. And it's also, she's done another one since, which is Granny Takes a Trip Mark II, which includes the larger sizes. This one has grown with me, which is why I very, very seldom wear it. I've got a bit on my nail, you know, when you've got a sharp bit on your nail. It's grown with me. It's kind of, you know, I need to do something with the sleeves because they're too wide and they fall down, and I've only got short arms. I don't know whether to, see, I don't know what wool I used or yarn I used. So I'm thinking of maybe putting some shearing elastic or something around it, at least to hold it together. Yeah, it was made with Cygnet boho spirit. So I've not used all different colours for each square. It's just as it came off the ball, which is why they're all different, you know. But I did one, excuse me, I did one many years ago using all shades of purples for a friend of mine. And that was a nightmare because you can imagine all the ends I had to stitch in. Because I didn't crochet over them, you know, I just left them, tied them and left them. So I had, hundreds and hundreds of these blooming ends to stitch in. So when I was making this for myself, I thought, boho spirit looks like a great option, you know. I'll see what it looks like if I do all the centres in the boho spirit. I think it was called Carnival or something like that. It's one of the brighter coloured ones anyway. And just do black for the edging. And it did work and I loved it. And I made another one for another lady actually after that. But of course I've only got short arms and they're too wide. If I get round to making Mark II or 3 or 4 I think it would be, I'd have to make it on a smaller hook, I think, yeah. Because this one has obviously, it's been on a coat hanger, I'll be honest with you, it's been on a coat hanger, which doesn't improve your woolies. So it's sort of had a downward droop. I'll stand up and show you if you can see it. I can never get far enough away from anything to show you properly, can I? I'll try my best. It's full length, well not full length, it's down here. Yeah? And as you can see the arms are a little bit large and floppy. Maybe I could turn it up a little bit. But I do love the buttons. Oh gosh, do I love these buttons. They are so gorgeous, aren't they? I do think when you pay a lot for a button, I know it's an expense, isn't it? But it does make or break something. Excuse me for the frog, and I haven't even brought a glass in. And I've got beads on today that are like, well, those are like a satin wound round. Those purple ones. And the others are like sort of, well, they're plastic, glass. And that one's got little shot bits in it. Very pretty. Anyway, what's on my mannequin today? It is the sweater that came out, well, the cardigan that came out too small. As you can see, I can't button it because it's a 32 inch. As I was saying to you before, I put it on my Instagram and I've put it on my Facebook. I'm asking £25 for it plus postage. I did look up how much wash and wear was, and it was £2.45 a ball, and there's 10 balls, 10 50-gram balls in that. So, and then there was the price of the buttons, of course, the gold coloured buttons. So in actual fact, for selling it for £25 plus the postage, I'm making a loss really, but I don't know what else to do with it because I made it for my friend and it's too small. I don't know where I went wrong. Again, didn't do a swatch. Do we? Do you do a swatch? I don't. I'm terribly lazy. I tend to just, everything forward and trust in the Lord, you know what I mean? Anyway, I started again for the big size. I've done one sleeve. I've done two sleeves. And I've started again. It's all done all in one. At the base, whatever you call it, the body of it. All done in one. I think I showed you I'd started it the other day. So I've got to that much on it, all the way across. So that's what I'll be working on. I did actually start knitting a cardigan in lilac-y, purpley colour for myself. But that's had to be shelved because, I thought I want to do this. Because I will see this lady on a Wednesday. So I was hoping to have given her this on Wednesday, but then I realised it was coming out too small. It would come out too small. After I'd finished it, of course, I discovered it was too small. I thought it would block, but it hasn't. Yeah. So if you know anybody who's about a 32-inch bust and wants a lime green cardigan, message me down below. I always put my email address down below in what we call the show notes. The bit underneath that nobody ever reads, that describes your video. I always put my email address in there. So if anybody wants to talk to me or chat to me privately, you can, because if you put something on comments, I can't always reply because I never want people to put any personal details in the comments. Please don't ever put like your address or anything that identifies you, because you don't know who's like reading the comments. Some spammers could be reading the comments and they could bombard you. I mean, I take the chance of putting my email address on because I've got like a spam blocker and things like that. But, if you say, oh, I'm interested in such a thing, and put your number, your phone number or anything, don't email me, give me that personal details, because as I say, I would hate anybody to be spammed or whatever they call it, because some of the spams are not nice. It's not that they're rude or anything, but you get all kinds of, pornography, if I can say that out loud, that you don't want. You haven't asked for, you haven't looked, and you think, where on earth have they got my address from? Where have they got my email address from? And it's through social media, a lot of it. You have to be so careful. And when you click on these quizzes and things, that are like, which school did you go to? What's your first pet's name? Or what was your mother's maiden name? It's all fishing, because they want to second guess what you might have used for a password. Because a lot of people say, for a password, like what's your mother's maiden name? Or something like that. But you've put it on Facebook, you've put it on social media. And then you wonder why somebody's managed to sneak into your account somewhere or another. It's because you've answered some quiz or other. You think it's quite innocuous, don't you? You think, oh, it's just somebody I know asking me, what year were you born, or, what's your star sign, or something like that, It's all information that's being stored up about you. I'm always very cautious, And of course we all get the handsome man from the military who wants to be your best friend. Hi, gorgeous, I think you're lovely. And I feel like saying, do you think I came over on the first boat that landed, They're always in the military. The best thing you can do is click on the photograph and do a Google search for the photo. And you find that maybe it is a genuine photo, but it's of somebody else, It is of a genuine person who probably has no idea that his photograph is being used by somebody purporting to be this general, or this. They're always generals, aren't they, or surgeons, or captains in the Navy, They're always there in their white uniform with their peaked hat on. And I'm thinking, oh yes, and you really want to say I'm gorgeous. No. I've got one friend though who leads them all on, you know, she spins them all these yarns and that, you know. And, you know, then they get to the bit, don't they? They've got a sick mother they can't get at their bank account details. Could somebody lend them some money to, you know, the usual stuff, don't you? And I always say, oh no, you know, if anybody gets through to me, I always say, oh no, I can't lend you anybody. Can you lend me some? Because I ain't got any. You know. You know, and if you find somebody who gives you some money, can you think about me? You know, when you get some money, because, you know, I'd like some as well, you know. They very soon go off you, yeah. And another one is, do you own your own property? I have always said no, even when I did. I said no. No, I don't own anything. I've got an overdraft and I've got a credit card bill if you're interested, you know. Because they're not. They want you to either own your own house so they've got something that they can persuade you to remortgage or something, yeah. Or they want your credit card so that they can bump up, you know, buy things on your credit card without your knowledge. But they'd have a job with me because I've got nothing anyway. And my overdraft limit is very small. I've deliberately put it very small. So if anybody did get hold of any of my cards, they could only go up to a certain level, which is quite small, yeah. So it's my fraud, sort of, I didn't work in fraud, but I did help work with a fraud officer when I worked at the DWP, Department of Works and Pensions. And so, you know, I learnt a lot of the telltale signs that they say to you, that they try to get you with. Don't get me. I've got no money anyway, so they can't get me. Anyway, I'm going to go now. I will be on my live later on at 9 o'clock UK time, so please do come and join us. It will be a nice little chitty-chatty part. I call it party night. I won't be trying to sell you this cardigan. I reserve that for my daytime videos when I'm trying to sell you anything. But as I say, I put it on Facebook. I'm taking a loss, but I just don't. I have no use for it. I mean, look at the size of me. I have no use for a 32-inch bust cardigan. Yeah. So I'm going to go now and do a bit more crocheting, or crocheting as the Canadian crocheter calls it. I'm going to do a little bit more. Yeah. I saw a thing on Facebook actually today where a lady saw this, like, it looked like it was crocheted like granny squares like this. But it wasn't. It was the fake crochet. You know, where they've got a machine that does all this weird slip stitchy stuff. And you can always tell because they're very, very thin. Very, very fine they are. And when you look at them closely, it's like a single thread, like sewing thread that's gone over. And, you know, she was saying this particular top that she'd spotted was like for sale for about $20 or something like that. And she was saying there's no way that could be real, you know, because nobody could crochet it for $20. You couldn't. It was all circles, like, all joined together, and it was a little top with short sleeves. You may belong to the same lady that I belong to on Facebook. And she was saying this is really hitting people hard, you know, because people who don't crochet think that it is actually crochet. And they wonder why somebody can sell it for $20 when somebody like me can't even make anything for $20. If you're using decent yarn, you know, which wash and wear is a decent yarn. £2.45, as I say, for a 50-gram bow. And I used 10 of them. But having said that, you know, you saw me wear the black cardigan yesterday. It must be 20, 30 years old, that cardigan. And it is still almost like new. I couldn't sell it as new, but I could. If you saw me wearing it, you'd think I'd only just made it, you know. That's the way it is. If you buy decent yarn, you know, it may cost you a bit. But I mean, even this is many years old. I made this before I even moved to Fleetwood. Before I came here, I made this. You know, And I made my friends, oh, got a little bit sticking up there. Oh dear, I think I've caught it on something. Oh, I need to go and rescue that before it goes in a hole. I must have caught it on something, I've got a little hole. That's what happens, it doesn't wear out, you get a little hole, and if you don't jump on the hole right away, you get a big hole, don't you? I don't know what's happened there. I've probably gone past something and got it caught, haven't I? That's the trouble with crochet, isn't it? I call it the very, very open work things. People say, oh, that's beautiful, that's gorgeous. And I call them door hanger-uppers, because every time you go past a door handle, you're like, eh, and you have to go back and extricate yourself from the door handle. That's probably what's happened there. I don't know whether you can see it or not. It's just like a bit sticking up there. Can't see it very well, but it's a hole. I shall find some black yarn of some description and repair the hole. And hopefully, while I'm wearing it, maybe find some black shearing elastic. You know, the elasticated cotton. Put some round the edge, because this is going to drive me barley before the end of the day. I don't wash up that often, but when I wash dishes, I don't want it like going in the water, do I? And I can't turn it up or push it up or anything like that, because I can't do with this bit of my hand being cold. I think I've mentioned that before. I always have to have things down to my wrist. I'm not a short-sleeved person unless it's cracking the flags outside with sun. And I'm not a three-quarter sleeve person. My friend, as I go meet to the cafe and that, she pushes all her sleeves up. She likes everything up here by her elbow. Even if it's a really, really cold day, she does that. And I'm like, ooh. And then another thing I don't like is the back of, this is bothering me at the moment, the back of my neck being cold. I like things up around my neck, yeah. I know we've got our idiosyncrasies, haven't we? And that's a big word for a Saturday, isn't it? And on that big word, I shall bid you farewell. Don't forget, thumbs up, like, subscribe. Thank you so much if you're one of my new viewers. Hope you enjoy and I hope you stay. And if you're one of my regular viewers, thank you so much. I do appreciate you. Each and every one of you. I appreciate you. Anyway, if you're in the UK or if you're in the US, I don't know what time it will be in the US, but if you're in the UK, 9 o'clock tonight, party night, Janet will be live. So bye for now. Bye.